Yeah, they should be prepared to answer the questions from this lady or something. Do what? Yeah. Hmm.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call the July Planning and Zoning meeting to order. First item will be to approve the June minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the June minutes.
Second.
Let's vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Any opposed? All right, they pass.
All right, next item was staff report. Jack, what you got?
As you may be able to tell, we've been very busy. And we are going to apparently remain busy for the next couple of months. We'll have several more applications coming. So given the nature of how long this meeting is likely going to last, I'm going to truncate this staff report to, if you have questions from me, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I think we can get to it. No.
Okay. Moving on, we will have a public hearing for street highway vacation request, Northeast 132nd Street. At this time, the public hearing is now open.
In the packet, you have a visual reference of what the roadway looks like, where it is. It's 30 feet wide. It's generally unimproved. Staff was completely unaware it was there. It's a deeded thing to the Clay County Highway and Transportation Department from the 50s. So at some point it was annexed in. There is a likelihood that if it was not maintained by the county for 5 years prior to it being annexed, it went away anyway, but nobody has records one way or the other. So this is the only way to resolve the exception off of the deed, and it would be to vacate it. It's only that portion on the second page of, or second picture in your document as well. It shows the overall land of it. So as you can tell on the aerial, the vast majority of that 30 feet is completely covered in trees. And so that's the only information we have. And my understanding, the applicant and their engineer are both here if they have stuff to present. Otherwise, it's a simple vacation of a 30-foot wide highway easement to Clay County that passed to the city when it annexed in the 80s. 90s, actually, sorry. And that's all I have.
Does anyone have any?
John Woods.
Mr. Woods?
Right there, there's a mic on the podium. State your name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
John Woods, 13600 North 169 Highway, used to, families owned that property for a long time. And that right away was always a mistake. When,
Yeah.
they started putting in some of the 911 system and everything, they used an old map and they made some deeds to some roads that weren't actually there, didn't actually exist. And the guy that was in charge of the Clay County Highway Department got fired over it, so, you know. So that thing is an error to begin with.
That would explain even more background information.
That's it on that one.
Anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Next item will be to vacate that same highway road. Do we have a motion to?
I'll make a motion to vacate.
I'll second.
Brother?
There's any questions, you can ask me or John.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Terry,
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
5-0.
Okay, and that should be on the next Alderman. then.
Yes, it will be on the next Alderman for first reading.
All right, next item is number 6, public hearing for the conditional use permit for the battery energy storage facility. This time we will open the hearing. Jack, you want to go first?
Yes, please. In the packet that you were sent, there were 2 documents that I'll provide for public hearing purposes, enter into the record. One is the staff report relating to the conditional use permit and its issuance. And in addition, the applicant has provided a checklist document that has all of their specific information that is, to be quite frank, twice as detailed as I needed to be in my staff report because it was so comprehensive. I've reviewed it and so it is their application, but the city will offer it into information on the public hearing portion, and that's all we have.
Okay, Gary Johnson,
I'm the homeowner, called up in the mess.
state your name and address for the
Okay,
record.
Gary Johnson, 350 Northeast, 137th Street. Kansas City, Missouri, 641165. Our house is right in front of where you're building the plant. We're stuck in between everything. If we stand on our front porch, we can see the backside of Google. We're in the way. I've spoke to one of the attorneys representing the other companies today. We're going to be meeting, but I want to know, everyone to know today what's been going on. We've never been notified. I have a 2-year-old grandson, a 9-year-old grandson, an 11-year-old granddaughter. My son, his fiance, and myself living on his property. We have animals, pets, and we've just been run over. And I hope by meeting Jack this week that can resolve this, no, the other Jack,
Oh.
the attorney, that we can resolve this matter without any. I'm not here to start problems. I just want everybody to know where I'm at. I'm in the middle of it. I can't go anywhere. The property has been damaged. It won't sell. So I just wanted to state that today and let everybody know what's going on. And I know everybody else out here is probably in the same situation. We're all gonna have a fallout from this. So we're praying for you. They're praying for me. God bless everybody and thank you for your time.
If I may, I'll elaborate on Mr. Johnson's, on the previous document. His property is the square that you see where the easement was vacated. It's just a couple 100 feet further east from the property line. If that helps you to visualize where he's at.
Okay.
Oh,
Car-
I also bought the property from Mr. Woods over here. His dad.
Carol Odell. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh, pick up the mic there.
Good evening, everyone. Address is 907 Aspen Drive, and that is in Forest Oaks. We've had that house, just a little over a year now, my son and my grandchildren live out. I guess when it comes to this battery, building, I don't know what environment studies have been done on it. If there hasn't been any environment studies on it, it needs to happen. Because Smithville Lake is a very popular place to go to camp out and people to fish. And I would hope that any runoff from this, which there will be, does not affect how popular your city is for that lake, okay? It would be well worth to investigate what this will do to your water table. Besides the point, I'm not real sure your fire department can support this, that has some hazards of burning. You know, there have been those that have burned up and I saw a whole strip mall burn up because the fire department couldn't get in there, so. This is my concern, I just, wanna voice my opinion on this, that I think, there are some studies that need to be done before, this permit, which is conditional use permit. And if nobody's aware what that means they are aware that there can be some issues from it, okay? So I thank you for your time. And that is Carol Odell, 917 Aspen Drive, if you want to come visit. I do a great barbecue.
Paul Klaus,
I'm good.
you're good? Okay. Doug Cercioni? Okay. That's it.
Last call. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Next item will be to approve this same conditional use permit for the battery energy storage facility. A motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second so we can have the conversation.
Yes.
Jack?
Sure. Couple of points. Most of the addressed concerns in the public hearing, I believe you may recall, were addressed specifically during the new ordinances we implemented to regulate this, this field. The fire captain or fire chief, Klein, came and presented to you directly about his main concerns being the 850 is the the Fire Protection Association number that he wants to have. That's a regulation in here, and that the design meets certain things of which we put into the regulations. So all of his concerns were specifically added to our ordinance, and they've submitted an application that includes that to it. The applicant also is here and has a slideshow that will kind of explain more of this stuff and talk about the actual packet information. If you guys want that information, I think it may help you understand the written information that's in the public record. But that's-
See it.
I would too.
John?
One of the things that concerns me also is the Cinnamons parcel of property, sorry.
Yep.
One of the things that concerns me is this little square of property right there.
Yep.
He is quite correct. He's between a rock and a hard place there.
Yeah.
I would, because of the situation, I would urge the attorneys to come to some equitable agreement with this gentleman.
I think they've been working on it for some time. And-
State your name.
Testing, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is John Salazar. I'm here representing NextEra Energy Resources. We're presenting Nashville Battery Energy Storage Systems to you this evening. I've got a team full of experts here as well for any questions regarding fire safety, also environmental or engineering and construction. But our goal this evening is really to best explain who we are, what this project looks like, where it's located, and how we best are going to work with the city and local responders throughout development and operations. It's right here. It's right. Let's click. Oh, my. Where do I go?
The up down arrow on the far right, there you go. Or you can roll it. There you go.
So, but
Want that bar up, you can move it up.
scroll it, grab
You
it.
just,
scroll it.
yeah, click it and push it up out of your way, all the way to the top. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Before we get to the project, a little bit about NextEra Energy Resources. We're American owned and we're the largest energy infrastructure developer. As you can see, we have several different technologies that include nuclear, natural gas, wind, solar, and battery storage. In fact, we have 50 battery storage facilities in operations in the US and Canada. So that's over a decade of experience in safe design. Here we go. So Missouri, I truly appreciate this slide because I'm a Missourian myself. I'm from Southwest Missouri, actually Joplin to be exact, if you guys know where that's at. But as you can see, we have over $537 million in investment into the state, over 400 megawatts of energy, and several different projects throughout different development stages within Missouri. We understand that city of Smithville is unique, and so we definitely want to work with the city and design something that fits your expectations. So here's the project boundary. We are proposing a 300 megawatt battery energy storage system that will interconnect on the Nashua Smithville 161 kV line. Operation date is 2029, and the projected life cycle is 30 years. As you can see, surrounding the proximity of the project, there's already energy infrastructure to the south of the proposed project. We are east of 169 and north of Northwest 132nd Street. There's also some commercial and industrial land uses surrounding the proximity of the project as well. So really, it being close to the Nashville substation makes battery energy storage really more efficient here. This is our landscape screening. So we understand that visibility is important to the city. And so we included a landscape screening here. And in the next couple slides, we also understand that the road level renderings were important to the city as well. As you can see, this is a proposed sign that NextEra is happy to support the city with. I believe this is a rendering from the city. But beyond the sign, you can see the white fence without the vegetation, without the landscape screening. And here you see the landscape screening. So again, understanding that visibility is important. Very low visibility to our project and high focus on the sign here. This is 169th Highway. And this is the intersection of 169 and Northwest 32nd Street. Again, you see the existing tree buffer there. And beyond the tree buffer, you have the project, which is has very low visibility. And we do plan on keeping existing vegetation if possible. A little bit about our project timeline. So we have been working on siting and securing land, environmental studies, design diligence, and this conditional use permit is part of the permitting phase. During that phase, we will continue to work with the city on detailed design, and we are targeting construction in 2027 and plan to be operational in 2029 as well. Environmental due diligence is how we evaluate whether we can safely design a project. We review aquatic features delineation, wildlife assessments, general ecological assessments, phase 1 environmental site assessments, cultural and archaeological surveys as well. And here's the tax benefits. We estimate $2.7 million in local taxes, approximately 150 jobs during construction, and project up to 6 full-time jobs. Folks always ask us, what do these facilities look like? And so, as you can see, they are outdoor equipment containers. They're organized in rows, fenced in and accessible to trained personnel. They're not tall like a large generation plants or other generation technologies. They're pretty small in footprint. And this right here shows you a layout of a typical layout of a site. As you can see again, rows of containers that are spaced. You have the inverters at the very end and close to a substation, which is the point of interconnection. Again, fenced, very small in footprint and safe as well. And what's inside the batteries? So right here, you can see the cell and modules. Multiple cells are grouped into modules, and those modules are stacked within the racks. Those racks are housed in the containers, Advanced thermal management system maintain optimal temperatures. Multiple safety systems include fire detection and automation. And energy management systems manage charging and discharging of the system safely. NextEra does take a layered approach to safety. So we build our projects NFPA compliant, IFC compliant. Also, our batteries are UL certified. We have advanced detection systems, thermal management, and also required spacing on ventilation with backup power systems to ensure secure operations. On the control side, we have smart battery monitoring. Remote operation capability allows system control and shutdown if needed. Site controllers manage power flows and all safety systems as well. As far as planning and monitoring, we have the 24/7 monitoring from our ROC, which is the Renewable Operations Control Center, which I'll explain a little bit more on the next slide. We also work on emergency action plans and also comprehensive emergency plans with your local responders. Onto the ROC, which is the Renewable Operations Control Center. It's operating 24/7, 365. It is notified if there's any deviation from normal conditions and can dispatch a local technician if there's any issues, and can even shut down the facility if required as well. And then now I will hand it over to Alan with Pulcinelli to talk a little bit more about the grid here.
Great. So I'm Alan Klaus Anderson. So I'm the chair of the Pulcinelli Law Firm's Energy Practice Group. I'm in the Kansas City office. My second job is I'm down the road at University of Kansas Law School, where I teach an energy class at the law school there. And so I'll just kind of briefly, because the first part, and you heard a little bit there with John, is, and you heard it from the fire chief, we have so much safety protection built into the siting and permitting of these, everything from the units themselves and the UL and it's NFPA, National Fire Protection Association 855, which is our code around it. That's what makes doing battery storage so great, is we have an incredible amount of safety codes built into the battery systems, the depth of which really is remarkable. So that was the first part, making sure we had that in place to say, okay, can we do this safely? And of course, we really can. The second is the great benefits that battery storage has to our grid, both from an economic and a safety perspective, which I'll touch on. So if you look at, and let's see if I can kind of make this kind of point to different things, but this part, the orange part here is the kind of the load curve. So during any given day, there's times a day when we need more energy, where we have more usage, and there's times when we have less. What battery storage allows us to do is when we have times when the battery use or the energy usage goes down, that means we have abundant generation, lower cost, we can fill up the batteries during that time. So we don't have like a time where we're just not able to use all the generation that's available. We can charge it at very low rates. And then what happens on the orange when it pops back up, that becomes more expensive energy. So our utilities have to spend more money to buy that generation. That flows through to us ratepayers. If we're able to take this low cost energy and dispatch it during the time of day when it's more expensive, that helps lower the overall cost to our utility providers. And that makes for us ratepayers lower cost through the year, that then can help us on downward pressure on rates. I do make no guarantees the rates go down, but they actually will go up less. So it really has an economic benefit. I make no promises for our utilities, but it does have a great economic, and I'll give you a couple of very specific examples. So that's the first thing, is it has that kind of benefit to the grid, and we can do it daily, and we can do it other times too. So what do I need to push here, John? There. So the other thing, it has regional or localized benefits. So if you look here, we kind of balance the grid over a larger area. This is called the Southwest Power Pool, which is about 15, 16 states. And we'll have different pricing at different points throughout the entire region. So if you look here, this is one just from recently. You see our pricing here is kind of in this, but if you look real close up here, you can see which this part B, it goes up and it's a little more expensive. So if we can put battery storage in different places,
Went too far.
Anything else? Where if we can put battery storage into these locations where more regionalized, we're able to dispatch energy where we're having different pricing. So having battery storage locally in this region actually has regionalized benefits that's even better, because you'll hear this sometimes, why here versus somewhere else. And the answer is we're doing a lot of battery storage throughout the region. And I'll talk a little bit about other states and their experience with it from an economic perspective. But that gives you a sense of the reason why it's great to have it here is there's a regionalized benefit to that discharge. So here's the example that uses Texas. So Texas had a few years ago, and you probably all recall when we all had the same thing with Winter Storm Uri, they had incredible amount of outages because of all sorts of reasons. They needed to solve that problem because, you know, winter weather was going to come back. So what they did in Texas over the last several years is they've done more battery storage than anywhere else in the country. So last 2 years, the most anywhere, which is 14,000 megawatts of battery storage over the last 2 years. And then if you look at what impact that has, so it has two things. One is if you take just January of 2024, and this is the controller of Texas, they saved, oh, thank you. Yes, not as easy as it looks, is it?
Well, I'm trying to get that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I think
The top.
mouse is up top.
Yeah, you know,
Oh, I'm way up.
Yeah.
Oh, no. There we go. So this, yeah, a report from the controller of Texas was given two examples, and this is a perfect example of what we could potentially see. In January of 2024, they had another one of those big winter spells. Because of the battery storage they added in that month alone, they saved their utilities did, which means the ratepayers did, $750 million in market savings by having battery storage. The other flip side of that is we have market benefits to the ratepayers, but we also have safety benefits because when they had the big outage on Winter Storm Uri, it had billions of dollars of economic impact, but they also had people that died for several reasons. A lot of people rely on electricity for, you know, health devices, all sorts of things, or they suffer from impacts to cold or heat. And we literally have people die. In September of 2023, the estimate was because of the battery storage they had added, which they've added more since that time, they saved 434,000 homes that would have lost electricity that they had because of battery storage. So they literally saved lives because of battery storage. So these are the two reasons, Texas being a great example of why it's so critical that we add battery storage to the grid, economic benefit, but quite literally will save lives when we have a situation where it could become, you know, a grid situation. So anyway, battery storage, really exciting for the region.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Just a couple key takeaways here. Battery stores energy when it's available and sends it back to the grid when it's needed the most, increasing reliability. Again, we have a layered approach to safety, and we are determined to work with the community as well. Yeah, so in conclusion, we believe that this project can coexist with the existing infrastructure. At the same time, this city staff has also reviewed our application, and they've determined that our project does comply with the city ordinance. And also, the city staff has requested approval of our project. And so we just ask for your support as well. And we'll stand by for any questions.
I do have a couple.
well, we need to actually, let's let public comment occur first, and then
Sorry.
we'll move to that phase.
No, this is past public comment.
We
This
are-
is then,
this is-
this, is-
Well, we still haven't heard.
This isn't-
folks. We're not on the,
Yeah, we are. We made the
Yeah.
motion and seconded. We're past that.
yeah,
We're on 7.
Yeah, but we still haven't heard the public comment regarding 7.
We had the
Se-
public
yes.
comment on
They
6.
spoke right after.
And nobody else has other.
We-
Nobody else had anything.
Does anyone sign
yeah.
up for public comment on 7? Is there anybody else who would like to speak still? Okay, then
Okay.
we're good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I have. The first speaker during the public section said he wasn't notified. Is that because he was beyond the boundary?
yes, yes.
Both in comments made and in the email that we received from the one homeowner, there was concerns about noise pollution, and I didn't see anything in the packet that addressed what the noise the decibels were on this unit?
Yeah, so we have done a study, and we looked at the surrounding area and the proximity with the Highway 169 and also the industrial and commercial uses surrounding the property. This battery storage project will be consistent with those sound studies.
Okay.
What's the decibel level?
So as far as the sound study goes, I believe it's a 50, the dBA.
Okay.
Which again, doesn't add much to the existing soundscape, and it's fairly the same as what it is now.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have several questions.
Sure, yeah.
First, is this the first battery center that you're putting into Missouri?
So we have several under development that showed on the map.
Right.
there. But yeah, we are going through the permitting phase on several projects.
Okay, and then you've shown us this, how many of those battery facility or buildings is going in? What's the projection for here? How many of those batteries?
For Missouri.
No, for this,
site.
for this
For
site.
particular site, that is a fairly a good question. I appreciate the question. Sherman, do you want to? A rough estimate of about one.
Sure. Yeah.
Sherman Burnett with Next Era as well. A rough estimate is about one of those containers per megawatt, so somewhere around 300.
300 down here. Okay.
But
Next,
it'll all be within the area.
so next question, when we were talking about the environment is, and maybe Jack, I don't know who needs to answer this, DNR, are they involved in any way with this for protection of the environment?
Not that I'm aware of, other than if there's a spill. I think the attorney there probably can give a better answer to that.
Yeah, just like any kind of construction project, so all the materials that would go on there have to comply with all the state, federal laws, including if there's anything with DNR. With the batteries themselves, there's nothing that's special about them that would require any kind of special permitting for that. If there were an incident, the way it works is it'd be the cleanup and the requirement of anything that Missouri DNR would be part of. But from just the batteries themselves, there's not anything particular that would make it of a hazard or a concern of that nature.
Was the DNR consulted on any of this?
So the DNR will be, sorry, I'm Shelby Ridenauer. I work for Olson. We help prepare the application, and then we have also been supporting on environmental studies. So the DNR, they will be contacted as they apply for their SWIP permit. And then we have also contacted the Missouri Department of Conservation for like wildlife. We've also done wetland studies. There's a few wetlands on site. And we'll work with the Corps of Engineers to determine if those are jurisdictional. If they are jurisdictional, then we would go through the proper permitting for those. And then we've also done cultural surveys. There is no cultural resources on site. And then I believe we did a phase 1 as well, and that looks at your hazardous materials. And there was no records there either.
But DNR would be involved when you filed for your stormwater permit.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I believe you guys have a grading permit that you will require for this site as well. And so part of that, you will require the SWIP to be in hand. And so by that point, they will have their SWIP and you'll have all of your design plan and all of that.
In addition, our grading permit requires the SWIP, an erosion control plan, and depending on the issue, a traffic control plan. It's in Kansas City, the access points, we can't control that. But all their trucks, if you saw that first picture, that they turn off the highway and it's literally 60 feet off of the road will be their entrance. So they'll be going in that direction. So our permit covers they have to have the SWIP in place and all
That's
that.
the reason we have this letter then. On the traffic study, it's not done.
Yeah, because we don't require traffic studies for construction activities.
Okay, I'm not done.
Sure. Just
The
wanted-
jobs, you said after it's constructed, maybe 6 employees. Are they going to be on site 24/7 or are those all remote jobs?
Yeah, so we plan to have up to 6 full-time employees to support that particular site. They will be within the region and will be able to be dispatched to the particular site if there's any concern.
So there
And they
won't,
will maintain as well.
So
so
they
there
won't
won't
be
be
on
anybody
site.
on site on a regular basis?
There could be, employees that, again, dispatch, but as far as, being there every single day, potentially, for maintenance and whatever is needed.
So that's where I'm kind of concerned about the fire protection and control, because on page 7 of what you've given us, it says the system is continuously monitored and in the event of abnormality is detected, notification to operations personnel occur immediately. So immediately, how immediately are they from this location
Yeah.
if they work
absolutely.
here?
Appreciate the question, Commissioner. So we do work with safety and the fire chief for an emergency response plan. Again, we do have 24-hour, 365 monitoring with the ROC, that is an offsite control center. And on the worst case scenario, they can shut down the project, the site itself. But really what would happen is that they would dispatch the local technicians, and the technicians will work with this local responders on that.
So would the technicians be required to live within a certain minute response time or miles to this facility?
Yeah, yes, I was saying, we do have a fire safety expert here as well, but yes.
Okay.
So just to kind of tag a little bit onto that is, so as part of 855, NFPA 855, we have to do an emergency response plan that's approved by your local fire chief. So he has the authority to make sure he's comfortable with the plan. And that includes any possibility, anything that you're talking about, including the response. There'll be training ahead of time. They've actually already met with them, done some training, but they're required and they will do training related to any kind of those responses that's then done annually or even more often if they'd like it. So all those scenarios will be covered within the plan. They will have people in the region locally that can also handle, like if they see something that can be shut down, the local fire authorities will know what the process is in addition to the offsite. So you wouldn't want, I don't want to give the impression that's only the offsite, but that's also part of the fail safe.
Next question. So whenever you have this extra energy that goes into these batteries, do you sell that back to Evergy? How does this work? How do you make money off of this, I guess? That's what I'm really asking. You're putting this in. How do you keep supporting it? Your employees, your monitoring, and then selling it back, I'm guessing to Evergy or whatever this whole
Yeah,
center.
so if Evergy is kind of the off-taker for the batteries, they get the benefits of that off of the sales of electricity. So that what it does for them is it reduces the cost they have for electricity. So instead of going out to the wholesale market and paying, $20 a megawatt hour, they'll get it for the price that they had in the batteries. So yes, Evergy will do that. And what that does is it helps the compensation, so to speak, is the reduction of the cost they pay for electricity.
Okay. I don't know that I'm done yet. This may be more questions for Jack. I'm just really concerned when I started reading through your application here, where I'm concerned at is the project has not finalized the battery type for the project and will select that battery type based on technology available at the time. And I get because you're not going to start building till 27, hopefully.
Yeah, it's kind
So
of
is that
an issue because
okay?
we have to know what the permit is in hand in order to finalize these things. Then what you want to do is make sure you're buying it. It's all tier 1. NextEra only uses like the tier 1 makers of batteries and the systems. Who again, both those things, those components are under both UL, so United Laboratories, to make sure they are at the top level of what would be procured. But it's kind of a sequencing. We kind of go through this process, so we make sure we have the permit before then you can get into finalization of those other things.
And I guess that goes along with the site plan about you further acknowledge the design plans may continue to evolve during the development process with what you just explained.
Just that, and
Okay.
additionally, when you kind of get on site, sometimes you find either some conditions that require some slight modification.
And I guess this is where my concern is, and I don't know anything about the batteries. I mean, what all this is, but modifications that remain within the established project boundary and comply with all applicable regulations may be made without additional approval. I have a problem with that.
But so one thing is you all went through the ordinance process, which was really thorough and covers those things. So then what we're talking about is, again, the main one you have in there is the exact one you want, which is we have to follow NFPA 855, which then covers all the health and safety things that could be needed. So then if we have slight modifications, you've already covered the protection within the ordinance, where
Okay.
we contemplated that those things could be done without creating any kind of risk.
My last question.
If I may, to add on to that, it also allows for room if 855 is amended or changed, upgraded. There's no further action. It automatically rises to the new standard, whatever they bring up.
So the last thing, and I know Emma Chandler mentioned this too about the decommissioning. And you indicated you're looking at maybe a 30-year lifespan. Is that correct?
Correct.
So then, and I noticed here that you would provide sufficient financial security to assure adequate resources are available. So I guess this might be more question to Jack. With that in your application, would you calculate an amount and look at that every 5 years or 3 years, whenever? Would that money be held in escrow for the
Yeah,
30 years?
it would be probably a 5-year bond scenario where it's rolling. Every time they come in to do the new evaluation, they have to get a new one. Just like we do with subdivisions when they give us infrastructure. This is just their bond on their stuff. It's not really a maintenance bond that we get. It's more of a performance bond on their part. So they would have to maintain that bond to do the decommissioning. If it accelerated based upon their review and it was going to happen in 20 years, and in year 10, they come up with a substantially increase in cost, the bond has to be increased as well.
We hold the bond.
Huh?
We hold the bond.
Yeah, the bond would be to the city of Smithville, just like our infrastructure bonds are now.
Yeah, and I think that's a great provision. It's a great part of your ordinances. We encourage it. We'll have, this is the cost of the decommissioning it, that you all would hire the same people that we would to go out there. For some reason that was required and we're not there, you have the security in place. And yeah, that's it. We look at it periodically to make sure you have enough. Things that become more expensive, what have you, then it just kind of gets trued up to that.
And if I could clarify,
Okay.
100% certain things will be more expensive. That's the only thing we know for sure.
So I guess I'm not going to be alive in 30 years, but I'm going to ask the
Either.
question anyway. When that decommissioning were to happen, will city staff go out and inspect all that and make sure it's done by what is in this application?
Well, or if it changes over time, they
Right.
can bolster their decommissioning plan based upon what's going on site.
Improve it, but not decrease?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and if it comes to that point, right, then DNR gets involved as well because of.
Well, and we're still going to have that bond. So,
Yeah, you got protection in a multitude of ways. One,
Right.
you'll have that decommissioning plan and agreement in place. You'll have the security in place. We'll have to remove it, according to that plan. Again, if for whatever reason we didn't, then you have the security to take place that does that. Again, we have to have it obviously to all legal standards and requirements, including DNR.
You may not be able to answer. I do have one more question. I had one more note down here and then I'll open the floor up to the other members. When you were sharing the slide about the events that happened in Texas and you showed that $750 million. So I'm curious if you know or not, did the citizens receive that? Or would that just go to the company, the energy company itself, the savings to them, but not to the actual consumer?
So in the way the Kansas is, we're regulating utilities. So it would absolutely benefit the ratepayers,
Okay.
no question at all. If all of a sudden they have, like, let's say it would have gone up by 750 million, that's gonna go through the ratepayers as well.
Yeah.
So the Kansas regulated utilities, their rates and the charges to the customers has to be gone through the KCC. If we were in the same scenario, we save that 750 million, 100%, it goes to the ratepayers.
Okay.
and same with Missouri.
Yeah,
Both of
that's
them,
right.
yeah.
Well,
both of them
thank you.
apply.
Thank you
Yeah.
for listening, and answering all my questions.
Follow-up question on hers,
Yeah.
because doesn't 855 require automated shut off if the battery cells reach a certain temperature?
We've got, if you have further, we actually happen to, first of all, you're gonna enjoy his New Jersey accent, which is always enjoyable, but I'll let James introduce himself. One of the experts actually on 855.
Thank you. James Caulfield, Fire Risk Alliance, 762 Standish Place, Rockville, Maryland. So I can speak upon autonomous shutoffs, and yes, to your point, there are multiple layers of safety that are incorporated within these batteries. So they're monitored 24/7, 365. There are certain items and topics that if they do go out of tolerance, the containers are autonomously disconnected, so they are no longer going to charge or discharge from the grid. While that is occurring, notification is made to the ROC. The ROC is then going to then take the steps to dispatch personnel. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a fire response.
Yeah.
But yes, the autonomous shutoffs, cell temperatures, HVAC failure, communication failure, there's a laundry list that we can continue to discuss.
Well, that was my concern, because if that's not happening, then your remote personnel don't have time to get there. So as long as that is in place and that is part of 855, if those tolerances are not met, that cell is automatically shut down until it's reviewed by a living person and the problem's resolved. Thank you.
No, and just to kind of go a little further, not only is the cell shut down, that entire container is disconnected.
Yeah.
So one cell, the entire container is autonomously shut off. So yes.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's the one thing that when we started permitting battery storage versus, you know, a lot of other things, it has so much behind it. We're only scratching the surface. And of course, you want James to talk all night. He's happy to do that on 855. But exactly what you heard there, it has so many of those protections built in place. This will really be the one item if permitted that you'll sleep the best knowing that it has all these things in place.
And if I may clarify, at the beginning, I said in the ordinance process, the chief was talking about 750 or it was actually 855. And he made that I wouldn't say a demand, but he said, that's my only requirement, Jack. I need 855 in place. So that's why we put it in the ordinance. And I apologize for my voice. Where it went, I don't know.
Jack, do we have any additional overlays on top of 855, or are we just running with 855 and let the subject matter experts be the SMEs?
Yeah, well, from my excuse me. From my perspective, 855 doesn't have anything over it. It's the top. It's the highest level. We have other regulations. If there's stormwater issues, if their detention basin has an issue, we have different regulations in the city and the state that we address those with. But the 855 is the top of the line for, you know, all the other aspects of it. And including, as you may recall, the fire chief talking about the design of these, you know, that if there is, for whatever reason, a catastrophic failure of every system, if they explode, they're going straight up to protect the firemen who are there trying to protect it. Those are all the things that he wanted to make sure was in it. So I wanted to clarify that.
I want to follow up on something that Alderman Wilson said. Many of us here in 30 years will not be here. I don't plan on living to 105. But I do have children. They're in their 50s. I have grandchildren. I have great grandchildren. Many of the public here, same thing. I want to just make sure the future generations are protected as much as possible. And that the dignity and integrity of our citizens is respected.
Absolutely. And I'm no different. And the thing is about something like this is all of those safety protections are in place. So there's not a health or safety concern at all. So we start there, but then we think about the benefits. So when your kids and your grandkids want to have reliable energy, lower cost energy, this provides a chance for that. So one of the things people struggle with, you know, now it's the cost of everything. Cost of electricity is going to go up. This helps bring that down, which has incredible benefit for the community. It has great benefit for Smithville also as being kind of a competitive location. But we've taken out all the health and safety concerns such that you can sleep. I'm telling you, you can sleep at night knowing that nothing in your city is going to be monitored more than this and is going to be safer than this. Plus you get all those benefits to the community.
Well, part of my background years ago in another lifetime was as a risk management analyst working for a very large insurance company. And everything I see is a risk. Walking up the door, that's a risk. So everything I see now is a risk.
Walking up
So I'm looking at this like, okay, I know what the risks are right now. what are the risks in 5 years? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? Like I said, I just want to make sure that the public is protected.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things we do is we look at risk on all the different things we do. Interestingly, walking around your house, about 1 in 10,000 years, you die from just walking your house. It's far riskier. What we did here is this is built and it's designed and it's engineered for the worst case scenario. So if we did have a fire, that stays within the container. So we've taken the risk out on this project. So again, of all those things, when we're sitting here in this building, we're taking a risk, just like you said, when we're driving home, we're taking a bigger risk. This project, if the worst case scenario happens, we've removed that risk from creating a problem. So if again, the worst case scenario was very low, we have, enormous amount of these systems around the world, and it's very rare for something to happen. But if it did, it doesn't create the risk that you should be worried about, that's what we protected against.
I do like this concept much better than I do windmills. I've been to Osborne, Missouri. No.
Yeah, no, this is one thing that I think when I'm a ratepayer on Evergy as well. I'm really excited that we're doing more of these because of both the situation we have, which is, market and then risk. We're having, we've had winter storms where our grid was strained. This really helps on those. So when you think about, again, kids and grandkids, having a situation where we're less likely to have those outages, which could impact them, this is exactly the type of solution for that.
Okay.
Mr. Salazar, I have a follow-up question or two. Kind of going back to the local tech response time. I don't know that we've heard an answer. Maybe it isn't known at this point, but is there a goal response time or distance away from the site that a live person, employee will be there?
Yeah, so that, yeah, I'll just say, fire safety expert.
Sherman.
Okay. Yeah.
So forgive me as I don't remember the exact number. I want to say it's around 15 to 30-ish miles they need to be within the array, but also at the same time, as they all eloquently put, there are a lot of different stages that'll stop it if there's any communication, any temperature, pressure, anything that goes off. That's when they're alerted to say, hey, you need to come check this thing. And then as James brought up, they shut it down so we can go.
Okay, thank you. And then also, if I heard you correctly, NextEra has 50 battery energy storage facilities worldwide,
US and Canada.
US and Canada. And a decade in existence, is that a decade in production?
Decade of operating battery storage systems.
Okay, so about 10 years ago, it was charging batteries, is that right? In the first facility?
Yes, of operation.
Okay. So in that time, has NextEra ever had, I'll leave it broad and say an issue? And I think we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, kind of a 3 Mile Island thing. I'll say it.
Absolutely. You wanna talk about it?
So, and I don't have I'm not on that side of things, but yeah, I think there have been a facility that's had that. Again, nothing that's created a bigger problem, but I think, and if you kind of have to look, there's kind of pre-NFPA 855 and post, which came in, I think it was 2020. So the different designs all over the place. And then since then, I think I can think of one where NextEra has, there could have been others, and they do perform as anticipated, from the fire response thing, which is kind of the proof of concept. So you have a fire, it stays within the container. And what we do from a fire protection, which again, the chief and the whole team are trained, they let it work itself out. And it kind of, we don't ask people to go in, you don't put water onto a fire like this. And so it's usually within 8 hours, it kind of ends, oftentimes quicker than that. Then they've released it back to NextEra. They wait till they have the sensors, make sure it gets down to, where they can go in, and then they remove things. So there has been a situation that I can think of one, and it performed as anticipated, which is kind of the proof of concept.
So let's just talk about the post 855, because it seems like pre 855, it's BC compared to AD. In that one example, what was the fallout for the citizens around and the environment and all the things that Smithvillians might be concerned with?
Yeah, this is a really good point. I probably shouldn't even mention that. So the good news is we've had a couple situations. That's also the bad news, of course, because you have a couple situations. What they did in the different locations where they had it, they go in immediately, they put in all sorts of air monitoring. They put in, did all the different testings around that and for extended periods of time. What you find is, any of the off-gassing that comes off of that, it's no different than like a plastics fire or something like that. So it dissipates by really at the end of the project area. It creates it's much less of a concern than if you had a barn or even a house fire where there's all sorts of other ingredients. So they tested that to make sure there was nothing that would come in from the off-gassing to the community beyond the project site. Then they actually went and also tested, even though all the data would tell you there's not going to be any concern related to the soils in some of these fires. They even put water on them and things, and they tested soils. There's nothing that comes from a battery fire of this nature that if it did take place that creates any kind of a chemical or toxicity concern. So the bad news is we've had some of these, not just obviously this was next year, this is looking at other fires around. And we've been able to, from EPA and others, to prove in the state versions, nothing comes from the off-gassing that creates any concern from the people. So if it did occur, or from the soils or other perspectives. So they have given us the data to actually then be pretty definitive on those points. Even though the data would have told us that before, we now have the actual hard statistics from the projects themselves.
As a follow-up question, I'm going back to this little square of land right here. Are you saying that if one of those things decides to go crazy, it's not going to affect him?
I'm gonna bring James up so you get from the fire expert.
Thank you. So if you would like to discuss after, I have several events that we've actually taken all of the data and I could share with you. Again, it's proof is in the pudding to show that soil and things have not been affected. To your point, we're setting these projects in inner cities with much less setbacks than we have to work with now.
Okay.
With safety obviously being paramount with the 2026 NFPA 855 code in place. So we would work with your local first responders. We work on an emergency response plan. We're sure that they have all the training and the equipment necessary, but specifically to the property that is much closer. That is much further away than some projects that we have cited and are currently operating. So there wouldn't be a concern.
All right. So you're in high density inner city areas.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
So I want to go back to if one of the units were to get on fire, and you're talking about it going straight up. What if there's a 30-mile-per-hour wind? Where does it go then? Not straight up. Would that be correct?
That's correct. So you have a little bit of wind here.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we do have one. Yes.
So just to give a little context, I left this part out. So I'm a firefighter, been in this fire service for 23 years. I travel internationally weekly, training fire departments specifically to battery energy storage fires and what the response looks like. So I think that's a little bit of important of why I'm up here speaking to you. To your point, we factor in wind. Okay. That's something that we understand exists out here. And when we do large scale testing, we want to make sure and we want to ensure that there is no propagation. There will be no wind that's going to cause another event to occur. So when we work with your fire department, we're going to work on an 8-step response process. The second step is going to be community air monitoring. We're going to make sure that there's nothing leaving that site that's going to affect the community. That being said, because of the distances and the large scale testing, that ensures that if there is that 30-mile-an-hour wind, we're not going to see the event cascade cause another event to occur. The responses to these are very manageable. I look forward to the opportunity to work with the chief because our emergency response plan is site specific. It's not something we pull off a shelf. Your chief and I are going to have a conversation or multiple conversations. His input's going to be important because he's the one going. So we're going to build this specifically to what they need and what they want. Of course, following the guidelines of NFPA 855.
And
I
I
would suggest you talk to him about straight line winds and microbursts because we have those here,
Yes, ma'am.
a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll do.
And I know, and I think if I remember correct, when Chief came and spoke to us, when we were looking at the ordinance, that treating this type of fire is different than water out of a hose. Am I correct?
You know.
Well, you don't put water on batteries. So is it foam or
No.
what do you do?
So it's actually, there's nothing spectacular about it. The application of water, so we don't like to use the word suppression. We're not trying to suppress the fire. What we do is exposure protection. So we're gonna take our
Mm.
data points from the container to the left and the container to the right. And we're gonna ensure that those temperatures stay within tolerance. We talked about the battery management system. So essentially, whatever energy stored in that container is the fuel level. 90% state of charge, it's a little bit longer of an event. 30% state of charge, it's less. We're not gonna use a ton of water, and we've learned a lot in the industry. You bring up BC. We used to treat these fires much differently, but we've learned through events. So the intermittent application of water to the adjacent containers is what the response is. So there is no foam or any type of chemicals that are gonna be used. It's just basic water.
Okay.
My last question might be to Deb. In another one of your previous roles, you were a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
Are you comfortable giving your opinion on what this would do to Mr. Johnson's value?
I wouldn't buy it. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. That's why I said I think the attorneys need to be talking to this gentleman, and make it equitable.
Yeah, and we look forward to continuing that conversation. The interesting thing is we have at least one study on that topic. And, you take this area, we've done a ton of renewables, we've looked at property values. Now we're looking at around the country on battery storage. What you're talking about is something that is so low profile and so really not visually impactful. In the studies, they've not had any property value impacts. But in this case, we're certainly happy we're going to continue the conversation with this gentleman.
The thing is, in real estate, it's all about perception and quality of life for a buyer. And there were some properties back when I was a real estate agent, when Bean Lake, when Bean Lake was doing its thing, that there were some holdouts that wouldn't sell their property because they didn't want to sell it, but then they found out they were going to flood, and then they couldn't sell it because nobody would buy there because it was flooding. And when you've got a property that is surrounded like that by industrial issues, you're looking for a very particular buyer, somebody who might want to put in their own kind of business. But a family? Mm-mm. Rob, I'll throw it back to you. Would you put an Airbnb in there?
I probably would, but that's.
You're crazy too.
That's because if it is low profile and the guest is there for 3 nights and then they're gone,
Yeah, well,
then
I
that's a
can see
different
that.
story than someone living there for 10 or 20 years, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And there's the difference right there.
But and one thing I want to kind of reiterate, when you look at the site, and part of what I teach, part of the law school class I teach.
Highest and best use.
What's that?
The highest and best
what's
use.
interesting is if you look at this property, it's right next to the substation. You won't find a more perfectly located than do a battery storage right next to a substation because you already have that infrastructure in place. So if that buyer was not interested in that location, they were already not interested. because
Well,
of
a
the
lot,
infrastructure.
true, and a lot of them are concerned
Yeah.
about emergency things like that, so yeah.
Yeah, so from that highest and best use, like this property from this use, you really can't get a better use than having the battery storage right next to the substation.
Now that I agree, that I do agree with, but the question to me was about this gentleman's property.
Yeah, and that
So-
does seem to be a kind of a multifaceted because a lot of the things going on, so that's certainly worthy of a broader conversation.
And I just have one final question, because I want to go back to one of her questions about money. Because really, you're buying energy at the low cost production. So you're buying energy after midnight from the power company. But then you're selling it back to them at peak hours. That's where the profit for you is.
Or if Evergy ends up, see, the reason we're on this assessment, we're assuming Evergy a utility as the off taker. So they are in that case, but that's the good news story. For now, you have the regulated utility who has to pass through those benefits to the ratepayers. But either way, let's say it was them owning it. When they're selling that electricity back at a lower price, the utility's buying that at a lower price. So either way, that benefit flows through to the ratepayer. There's no scenario that's not a good story for ratepayers.
All right, gang, we've been at it for a while.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
There we go. real quick, I want to make sure, are we okay with voting on this as is? Do we need to make any, amendments, changes to any, okay? Yeah, let's vote.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
John,
No.
4 ayes, 1 no.
This will be an ordinance on the next Board of Aldermen agenda, if I can get it crafted in time with all the stuff going on. But yeah, the proposal would be 7 PM next week here, for the first reading of an ordinance.
So the public has another opportunity to.
They, at least one, if not two. Yes.
And Alderman will have some more, leeway on some of their decision-making process as well, so.
Yeah.
Sure, there'll be some discussion.
All right, so we are now on to item number 8, public hearing to rezone 13800 North US 169 Highway. At this time, we will open up the public hearing. Jack, you want to go and start?
Sure. And, whoa, sorry, eating the microphone. If we may, let's wait for these folks to step out and then the people that are standing may have seats to come to. Well. The hell it, oh. And I apologize for stepping over the line there a little bit, Mr. Chairman, but my ears. I can hear myself speak, but I can't hear anything else when I got that background noise, so I apologize. So we are on item 8. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I was on the right item, because we have several of them here. So this is the rezoning. So I would offer into evidence on the record for this particular public hearing. There is a July 10th staff report that was in it for the rezoning of the parcel ID. And there's a development plan rezoning preliminary plat for Project Rocket Ship document that's here. And then we also have a draft version of findings of fact for the next item, but I wanted to go ahead and put it in here. Those are the draft item issues that we would put in the record for this one. And the applicant, similar to the previous applicant, is here with their own slideshow if you'd prefer to see it during the public hearing and then ask questions later. How you want to do that's up to you.
Yeah, we'll just do the slideshow
Okay,
next,
okay.
item. Do we have any?
We do. John Woods.
We doing just 8 or what?
I have you for 8 and then 10.
And this is the rezoning, changing it to B3.
Are we doing just 8? Just 8.
Yeah.
Just 8.
8 for right now, yes.
You'll pass?
Pass on 8.
Okay. Dan Fuller.
Yes.
Dan Fuller with Four Beaches Nursery at 13518 North Highway 161. My question is basically, I might have misunderstood something to begin with. My understanding was that part of what was going to be going into this 13800 was a battery manufacturing plant. Is that incorrect?
100% incorrect. You read that on the internet, I bet. Yeah.
Water
Yeah.
runoff and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but I will let you know, I have not been receiving any notifications for this. And I'm right at the door to this location, so we haven't been getting any notifications, so just so you know.
So whatever Clay County has on file for your address for your property there, that's where we're sending. to. So you may want to check with Clay County and get that.
Well, it's been the same ever for the last 20+ years.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean Clay County's get it right.
Yeah. Well, now, will you own that property now, don't you? It's in your name now? Yeah. whatever's on the county records is where all those are always pulled from.
We'll do some checking.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Paul Klaus,
Pass it this time.
okay. And then, that's it.
Last opportunity here. All right, we'll close that public hearing. Now we will move to item number 9, the rezoning of 13800 North US 169 Highway. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Jack, do you have anything additional to offer?
I would make reference to specifically inside the findings of fact. There are several specific findings. The one thing I want to highlight to you, most of you were significantly involved in the work associated with our 2020 comprehensive plan. And nearly all of you were involved when we got to the overlay district in 2025. So those were two big items in that that citizen-based plan. And that's what this application is for. At the last meeting, we provided from whichever, our legal counsel, the definition of community scale manufacturing. That was because it's not defined in our existing ordinance. And the reason that's relevant to the rezoning is the B3 district designation that they're seeking allows all of those items that are listed within that table of uses, one of which is community scale manufacturing. So I wanted to tie those two together so you understood where those were coming from. The front of the property is currently B3. Their application is to rezone the A1 and B3, and that was at my suggestion because I found some old records that indicate that the B3 in front is a B3P, which the old method was, there was a plat that it was, but it wasn't recorded with the ordinance and we have no record of it, so I can't find any of that. So if this is going to change, the recommendation was change all of the A1 and the B3. If it was B3P properly done, this will change it all to B3, which would fit under the overlay district.
Jack, I'm just gonna ask you to refresh my memory. You rewrote that at legal's advice because it wasn't separated from the other manufacturing in that conceptual plan, right?
Well, two aspects of it. That draft that he provided us was because we had two terms within the table of uses, community scale and micro manufacturing. Now, if you Google those terms, you will quickly find they're real similar depending on who's the one talking. His assessment was you already have micro manufacturing, which addresses tiny little things. So community scale is obviously bigger. How big that is, he drafted something for me to put together and I said, that sounds great. Under the code, me as the zoning administrator, I'm tasked with the opportunity and the authority to interpret the code, and then it goes to you. You all can reject that interpretation. You guys can do however you want to do those things. So that's why that went down that path. In addition to the comprehensive plan conversation I was having with this new overlay district, it's called specifically the South Employment Overlay District. And this seems to hit that pretty well from the employment standpoint. So as I've told everyone here, including the applicant, I did not anticipate a single application until 2030, 2031, allow some of the infrastructure stuff to move around and develop. And this showed up in March. So here we are. But I've provided you with staff report and this, including the rezoning packet, which shows the relevant information. It also has the conceptual plan and their development plan. So it's all in one packet. For purposes of going forward tonight, you will get the same, this will be added to every public hearing. And my guess is they will do something similar associated with their presentation. So if you have any questions, and the applicant has numerous people here if you want to discuss or ask questions about.
Any questions?
No.
Let's vote.
Deb,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
5-0.
This ordinance will be on the agenda next week as well.
All right, next item is public hearing for the preliminary plat for Project Rocket Ship. It's time, the public hearing is now open. Jack, you go first.
Thank you. There are several documents as well on that one. I have the staff report that's in the packet. The development plan, rezoning preliminary plat document as well. And in addition, online in your packet, I don't have copies of them, was the traffic study and the storm study for this project. I throw those in so they're available for you all to discuss or whatever. And lastly, it happened today at 2:28 PM, but MoDOT finally provided a response to questions from a meeting that we had with the applicant and some MoDOT folks related to their traffic study. To highlight the traffic study and its limitations, their traffic study impacts the Shane Crease one that was done north of there with its 2 proposed J-turns. This one includes J-turn proposal. Those are all based upon, that's MoDOT's plan for our community in that area. The only thing MoDOT can say at this point is that they are following the corridor plan, but the actual design, siting, location, and timing has to be worked out by all these engineers and all MoDOT's engineers and probably some of the Fairview Crossing engineers to figure out how to site them so that they all work together and don't make things worse. So all of those are subject to a MoDOT permit, their internal review process. Their standard TIS stuff is 4 to 6 weeks just to review and provide comments. It may take 6 months before they ultimately get to a point of here's what the TIS requirements are going to be. So I wanted to offer that as evidence as well and give you some explanation on the background of the TIS. They're good with it, knowing that they have full authority to say no in the future. On the design. It's their stuff that has to be improved. And that's all I have.
John Woods.
Name's John Woods. I'm at 13600, 169 highway. My property borders this property on 2 sides. I have a lot of questions. As regards to traffic, we know that when the 169 improvement down there was done.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me check. Is the light on? Yeah, it shuts it for me.
There, is that good?
Yeah. Wow. Whoa.
John Woods, 136 and 169, and my property borders this property on 2 sides. As far as the traffic, we don't know what kind of traffic they're talking about going in and out of there. I know that when the 169 improvement project down there was done, there's space for another set of lanes in there, and the existing southbound 169 becomes an access road. It's no longer a through street. It will end down there and it terminates. So there would be another lane put in. So that traffic study is going to be important as to what happens with that and how in the world that is actually going to happen and when that is going to happen. So that affects all the property owners up and down that, and any other development going in up and down, up along that road. We also don't know if related to traffic, what kind of truck traffic's gonna be in there. They're gonna be saying they're idling all the time, what kind of noise levels there's going to be in there. That's a major concern. I've already tried to make a complaint to the city about the operations going on down there with the dirt moving over the weekends, with them running high decibel fans, whining going on down there, and they go, "What? As long as it runs between 7 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night, it meets city code." That's not adequate. City code noise abatement is gonna have to be addressed. If we're gonna have trucks sitting down there idling, putting diesel smoke up in the air all the time, then that's another thing that needs to be addressed. The noise and the traffic. Also, what kind of light pollution we're gonna have out of this thing. We already had a project on the south side of 169 for all of that storage unit and everything. And there's only supposed to be one business per entrance, and we have 4 businesses going in one entrance down there. That supposedly is against city code, and now we're gonna do the same thing up here off of 136 on the other side. So what kind of addressing are we gonna do on that? We're gonna have another major traffic situation down there on 136th Street? Because they're talking about now, from what I saw, all the thing comes in on 132nd, comes in within 300 feet of 169 off 132nd Street. And supposedly, code says one entrance per building, one business per entrance. And now we've already got that thrown out the window on the other side. Water, this also kind of affects the other project down on 132nd Street. We have a big water tower out there that, unless things have changed, we can only get half full.
That's time.
How are we going to supply water to these 2 industries, and how is the fire department going to respond if we've only got a half full water tank? Who's gonna fix that? And where's that money gonna come from?
All right, sir, thank you. We're at time.
I mean,
We're at time.
Your
Okay.
3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
You got your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Paul Klaus.
Yeah,
Yep.
Don, you can have my 3 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Continue.
You get 3 minutes from Paul.
3 minutes for Paul. Sorry, that's the end of my time. But, we have had issues down there with, some of the other commercial buildings that have gone in, that this board has approved some site plans where there's supposed to be, tree buffers and light abatement, and nobody followed up on those, and they didn't happen. So what assurances that anything that you guys are doing down here are even gonna be paid attention to once this thing gets passed? Because we already have instance right there south, where the project wasn't built like it was designed. We didn't have our barricades, our greenery, shrubbery wasn't put in, and the lights weren't put in the way. And some of the other neighbors that are here have got a problem with that, with the follow through with the city on those. I'm also a little upset with this thing being a Project Rocket Ship, being all secret squirrel, and then being fast tracked, having readings one right on top of another, limiting public input. That makes, I'm sorry, city staff and city management look really bad as to why is it we have to limit public comment on this all the way through.
All right, sir, let's try not to make any kind of accusations like that against city staff or anything like that. We just try to keep it
They're-
professional,
they're
respectful.
professional, but in this case, why are we all of a sudden rushing this thing through?
This is a normal process. This happens for every,
Not on a major project like this.
every single one that I've been a part of. This is exactly the same process.
Okay. So,
I've been doing this for what, 8 years?
Yeah, pretty much. I was 6 years.
it seems to be awfully fast at this point anyways. But anyway, so that's, what is happening with the truck distribution, what is happening with the with noise control and that.
Thank you.
Doug Cercioni.
Name's Doug Cercioni, 728 Spellman Ave Drive. Some things have been already covered with other speakers. The two things I wanted to touch on tonight was when we first proposed the South Employment District, the conceptual plan that we initially had for it was slightly different than what this is. Though I think this by intent falls within the same guidelines. One of the things I spoke up at that time was the mature trees and stuff we had in that area, and hopefully trying to save as many as we can. And I want to give kudos to Central Power for looking at their design. Looks like they've done a really good job with trying to save trees along the north property line and the south property line, as well as the southwest corners. So again, give them kudos for that. The other piece I wanted to ask about, I know the stuff in MoDAP just came in today and was reviewing through that. And as Jack was saying, the number of J turns potentially coming down the line is going to be interesting with traffic, but they're really trying to work through that out. One thing I did not see in that traffic study was, northbound at Amory is fairly clear line of sight, but we still have accidents there. But the main one though, southbound on 169 Amory is a blind hill, and this would be adding new engines to over that hill. So I don't know if MoDOT had any intent of using that hillside, creating better line of sight for us. That's all I had. See, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Last call. All right, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing. Next item is number 11, preliminary plat for the Project Rocket Ship. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second for discussion.
Right, Jack, would you like to offer anything else?
Yeah, in it, to clarify, and I will notify Mr. Woods, that most of his questions will be best asked at the conceptual plan part of this. This one is a preliminary plat to divide the lot into 3 parcels, 2 up front on the highway for future retail, and then the big lot in the back for the manufacturing scale stuff. So his points will be better addressed on the next item on the agenda. So we'll address that. To clarify, along the north boundary line, this preliminary plat proposes dedicating right-of-way for a future extension street. What that looks like at Amory Road is subject to the 2045 design in the TIS. It'll be based upon if and when the properties to the north that are also part of this overlay district, when they come in, they will then address the what happens at that road based upon what traffic they're bringing in. But we've requested that they provide that right-of-way dedication now so that we're not paying for it in, 2 years, or since everything else was going much quicker than I thought, or 20 years down the road. We want that already acquired, so the city's already got that ability to have it used. And that runs along the north property line here, lines up with Amory Road. And from a platting standpoint, the TIS is important because this is generally where we would want to try to address some of the traffic stuff. But as we indicated, the design is such that the design from the highway stuff is such that some of the stuff that was addressed by Mr. Woods earlier, especially the secondary lane, that extra lane and the outer road, that was the plan in 97, 8, and 9 when they started that widening or the extra lane project, in 2000 when they finished it. And as is often the case, things have changed. They are no longer going to build that road. They want to keep the distance, and that's why they're going to J-turn so they can get those loops in. So that outer road issue that he had addressed is no longer in the MoDOT plans. It won't happen. They won't require it. They want J-turns for whatever reason. They're the engineers. I'm not. So, but I wanted to address those as this is a plat issue, 3 lots being divided. Lot 1 being the big one, and then the 2 up front for future development of retail. Lot 1 would also is the only portion of that would be subject to the next item as we go through. If and when future developments of lots 2 and 3 occur, they would require a separate conceptual plan. They'd have to come through that same process.
So this conceptual plan is just for the first lot on this for the.
Which is the big lot in the back. Yeah. So.
Also to divide into the.
Right, it's to preliminarily lay it out so that there's going to be 3 lots. And then they'll have to do a final plat, just like anything else. It'll be a final plat that includes lot 1 of this, and their access roads, the water line, the sewer line, et cetera.
So they'll be back before us again.
Somebody will, yeah. Yes, the final plat process, is the design of the infrastructure and all those things. And the final plat will also include the official designation of that right-of-way dedication to the city on the north end. And that final plat process, if it's approved here at this level, the preliminary plat doesn't need to come through you. Your teeth are going to be in the next item. That's where your teeth sit.
So the presentation they have is better to wait.
Yeah, or you can hear it. You can hear it now and they can give you all the information because some of it applies to this. So we'll leave it up to you how you want to do it. They are prepared to do it whenever.
I think we should have one big one, after we just make sure all the public gets a comment, gets their piece in, and then we'll see what they got.
Have them do it now before the next public
It
session.
might answer a lot of the public questions if they were.
Yeah,
to-
I mean, I think that's.
That may be,
makes sense
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Brandy's got to pull it up. They too will have several speakers, so we're just going to have them sit up here so they're not bouncing back and forth. Gonna leave it off. Right now, we'll just leave it.
Yeah. There's no guarantee that I'm good at operating this PowerPoint from here. Anyway, I am Patricia Jensen. I am with the Rouse Fretz White law firm with offices located at 801 West 47th Street. Although I live in the Northland and I don't live far from here. Let's introduce Paige Roberts and Robin Roberts.
Turn this on. Yeah, you can do it that way and you can speak directly. It'll be on the whole time now. You don't have to hit the button.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, Paige Roberts, Smithville resident of 10 years now. Happy to be here with you guys. I am the Executive Director of Growth Strategy and Partnerships for Central Power.
Robin Roberts, owner of Central Power Systems and Services and chairman and CEO. I am also a Smithville resident. I have multiple grandchildren, et cetera, in the area, so we're happy to be here.
And Robin.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. Kurt Rotering. I'm a traffic engineer for Olson, and I'll be speaking to the traffic components of this project. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually,
Turn it off. Or, yeah.
when you want to speak, just hit the button. So we don't get that.
As Jack has indicated, this project is in multi-phases. Number one is the approval of the rezoning. No one has ever accused me of not being able to be heard. Of the 155 acres from A1 and B3 to B3, which is what you did in your first action. The second one is to approve the preliminary plat for this 155 acres by subdividing it into 3 lots. And as Jack has referred to, the front 2 lots are the front retail space. And then the back is both the manufacturing and the warehousing that we're doing. And the third conceptual is the approval of the conceptual plan for phase 1 to provide for community scale manufacturing. Next slide. Is really the aerial of 136th Street and the northeast corner of 169 Highway. That is the property that you have, if you've been observant at all, there's a lot of grading going on out there. We've had lots of discussion with Jack and everyone, the staff at the city of Smithville, to do the grading. As you know, if you haven't, I'm sure you know about this, that there is a BAT deadline that you have to get your trees down by March 31st every year. Otherwise, you can't remove trees until after November. That's been a long-standing problem. We have the bat, the particular type of bat, and I can't remember the name of it in this metro area. The next slide is the future road exhibit, which Jack has addressed. And the next slide is the survey. It showed that the current zoning is A1 and B3, and the proposed zoning is B3 plus the planned overlay district. The acreage is 155 acres. The next slide, I'm going to have both Paige Roberts and Robin Roberts address these next slides to tell you who Central Power is. I don't know, as an attorney, you never know about your clients, but the more I understand who Central Power is and what they do, they become better and better. They are a total community oriented property owner, plus they live in the city of Smithville. Paige has been quoted as saying, growth means more than expanding operations. It means more careers for local families, more partnerships with Missouri businesses, and more investment staying right here in Missouri. Each project completed inside their facilities, and they have a current facility up in the city of Platte City. If you don't know about it, it's on the east side of I-29, creates ripple effects throughout the local economy, from suppliers and contractors to restaurants, schools, and skilled trades. We are proud to continue building, hiring, and investing in a community we call home. And what can be more than they call home than they live in the city of Smithville, and they are great residents for you.
All right, so I feel like I really skipped over a lot of information in this slide, but Central has been in business since the 50s. We got our start in diesel repair, heavy trucks. We then moved into generators and heavy equipment. The trades is really the core of who we are, starting with even our CEO and most of our higher up management. Many of these people started as mechanics and have worked their way up into various levels of business. In 2015, Robin purchased the company. We have grown exponentially since then. If you want to move to the next slide. So,
Mind if I speak on just a little bit? Because there are a couple notes in here that I think are very important for you to see on this slide. 2010 is when we began manufacturing the company. The company began manufacturing before I bought it. In 2015, when you buy a company, the first thing you do is say, hey, what are we doing? We need to stop doing. Second thing you do is you say, hey, what are we doing that we can maximize that we've already started in? And we took this manufacturing component in 2010 and began rolling it up in the generator operation. So
Yeah, I mean, we all know and we all understand the power requirements that are going on in the world, right? That is a hot topic no matter what the circumstances. And so the need for backup power is not going anywhere anytime soon. And that is what we produce. We build generators for backup systems. You want to mention the next one? So a little bit of his background, Missouri made, small town proud. That is, these generators are Missouri made. We'd like to keep it that way. We'd like to keep this here with us. Small town proud. So Robin, if you want to move to the next slide. Robin is from a small town, Kansas. Grew up in a population of 50 people. We know small town roots. We understand wholeheartedly. He has lived here for 11 years now. I have been here 10. My children attend the school district. We are happy to be here. We came here for the same reason a lot of other folks do. The school district is phenomenal. We love being neighbors with everyone here. He was a diesel mechanic when I was a child. He has risen up to a COO of a kind of competitive business now until he bought Central Power. And we have just been growing like crazy since, and a lot of that is here locally. If you want to move to the next slide, please. So this is just 2025. We spent 144 million in the in the Kansas City area. And then with Kansas and Missouri in total, it was 193 million. So we really try to use as many local vendors as we can. And that even goes out to if we cater food. I don't know if you guys have heard of Fetterman's in Platte City. We use them for all sorts of things. They don't even make breakfast burritos, but we call them up and they will help us out and feed our whole staff, and they're phenomenal to work with. And then when we talk about jobs, so this is obviously not starting from zero. This was in 2024, we grew in that number. 2025, we extended on that, and then 2026 even further. Just very, very heavy on job creation.
and those are jobs only on the manufacturing side of the business, not the dealership and distribution, which we have 19 locations across the US.
So a lot of that growth isn't even just strictly financial. That is leadership development. That is something we take very seriously. I think we're one of the few businesses that I'm aware of that has a chief culture officer. So everything we do, we take into account, how can this individual grow from this? So we have 100 people currently in a leadership program, learning how to be better communicators, better teammates, and just work well with others. And then with that, we have a training center, first class, to help teach our service people how to be better customer service wise. We teach safety, mechanical diagnostics, welding engines, electrical, hydraulics. If it's a diesel engine, we'll teach you how to work on it. And that's just a little bit about who we are. Do you have anything to add to that, Robin?
The next slide shows the preliminary plat that is in front of you right now. And as we've indicated, there are 2 lots right out there along 169 highway, and as well the manufacturing and warehouse businesses in the large lot behind there. Next slide. Here's the site plan that is being considered. And you can see the large manufacturing and warehousing buildings. There is enough room on the site for an additional one. And then right out front are the 2 lots for future retail, restaurant, that type of thing that the employees need. The next slide is just simply the grading plan. Our engineers are experts in that. And then the next slide is the utility plan. Those make up all of your exhibits. And then finally, the landscaping plan, and you can see the landscaping. We've been really good about preserving what trees we can around the site. The next slide is the elevations. One is of the manufacturing building, and one is the warehousing building. And then the next slide really is from the rendering from 169. You can see at that top left corner of the slide, That is what we anticipate the buildings to be built right along 169, the restaurants and retail spaces. And then the bottom right-hand side slide is just the visual of driving into our site. And that's the buildings in the background that you see. Next slide is the traffic, which I'm sure you're all interested in. Kurt is here. He and his compatriots have been talking to MoDOT a lot about exactly how traffic's gonna work, and they've been doing the traffic study. And some of this will answer some of their questions about the amount of truck movement that will take place.
Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned, Kurt Rotering, engineer with Olson. I helped with the traffic study. I will say the person that did most of the work is on vacation this week, so I am filling in. But if there are details, I have the traffic study and I can look them up and find all the answers of what we did. So this first slide talks about the size of the trucks coming in and out. There are 6 to 8 oversized, overweight loads that come in and out every week. As per MoDOT oversized, overweight regulations, these must happen during day hours and cannot happen during rush hour. So especially in the Kansas City metro area, they cannot operate between 6:30 and 9 a.m. and then I think it's 3:30 and 6 p.m. So they don't overlap with traffic counts. Next slide. So as mentioned, we have worked directly with MoDOT to make sure what we are proposing aligns with their long-term plan for this corridor. And as Jack mentioned, their long-term plan has been J-turns. So we took the volume of traffic that is expected to come with this development, which we got from the Central Power themselves as they know their operations, overlaid that on existing traffic, and then grew the background traffic based on historical growth and analyzed through phase 1 of construction and then full build, and also looked out 20 years into the future. And that the future condition considered those extension that's in your transportation master plan and additional traffic that may come from the west and the east from those extended roads. Looking at the long-term vision of this corridor from MoDOT and those J-turns, it is expected to operate well with those J-turns. J-turns reduce the number of conflicts at each intersection, and that is why they are beneficial for corridors like this where there isn't funding for interchanges, long-term, et cetera. So it is a safer application and helps move traffic in a safe and efficient way. Even though you do drive out of your way, which can be annoyance, I think everyone would prefer safety over saving 30 seconds on a commute. So, next slide. So this is a diagram that is very confusing to look at, but it shows the different phases of J-turn construction through this. And as Mr. Hendricks mentioned, we will work with MoDOT on the exact design and spacing of these J-turns. We are proposing a couple J-turn movements with the first phase, and then it shows the ultimate build out of those J-turns along the corridor as well, and how they will interact, and the spacing. And the spacing that we have laid out here does align with MoDOT criteria for the speed and the volumes on this corridor. So it will work from MoDOT standards, and operationally it will work as well into the future. And then
Conclusion. So in accordance with the staff's recommendation, we request that you, and it's really number 2 and 3 below now, it's the preliminary plat, recommend approval of the preliminary plat that subdivides the property into 3 lots. We'll follow up, as Jack has said, with the final plat and all the requirements associated with that. And then 3, approve the conceptual plan for phase 1 to provide for the community scale manufacturing. I don't think you guys can be any prouder of the Robin Roberts and Paige Roberts and what they are producing for the city of Smithville. So we are available for any further questions, but otherwise we ask for approval of those 2.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Questions?
Call for question.
All right, let's vote.
John,
Yes.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
5-0.
Same as before, another ordinance
All right.
next week.
Sorry, are we interrupting you?
There's a party going on at an Airbnb.
Oh, yes. All right, next item will be the public hearing for the conceptual plan for Project Rocket Ship. At the time, we'll open up the public hearing. Go
Whoa.
first.
Sorry. Again, sorry for hitting it. I'll put in the record the staff report for the conceptual plan rezoning. To clarify, the conceptual plan rezoning is what we call it. It's not technically a rezoning. It just has to follow the rezoning procedures in the code for notice and all that stuff based upon the 185 feet. I've also submitted a conceptual development plan findings document. That's a draft version that I would propose you consider. And the development plan document that you've seen with the preliminary plat, the landscaping, the buildings and all those things. So that is the staff's presentation on the public hearing side. I don't know if they have more on the public hearing side or if they want to wait until the discussion item.
We covered it all in terms of what presentation of the PowerPoint. Because both
Yeah.
preliminary plat and community, the conceptual plan for the manufacturing and the warehousing. So I'll let anybody else ask questions.
Yeah, let's get through the
Okay.
public and then if
Yeah.
we'll bring you back up,
Okay.
if we need to.
John Woods.
Me again?
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 minutes. I'll may give you 3 more.
Well.
Step out of the way.
Probably all right. Thank you. Well, I guess the main question is just why all the secrecy? I mean, that's kind of the main crux.
No, I- we follow the normal process, so it's not like, we haven't followed the process. This application was submitted a while ago for this hearing.
Yeah, yeah. It would have been on last month, but MoDOT didn't have their stuff completed sufficiently to move forward. So we tabled it, or not as a table.
They requested.
Yeah, well, because after explanation, yeah, they said, let's postpone it. Because we didn't have MoDOT input yet. That's the bump. That's why it was bumped from last month.
And then we also, if this is approved today, it goes to the Alder meeting, which is what, two more,
Yeah, it's got 2 readings.
so
Yeah,
then
all of
we-
this is,
and then
yeah,
another 2 weeks after that. So there's time for public comment and multiple opportunities.
Well, the original one I saw was that, both readings were gonna happen at the same time on the council.
that's within the board purview. Nobody in this room can control that.
It depends on how it's being presented to us, whether it's 1 reading or 2 readings in the same meeting. It depends on what's being presented to us, whether it's 1 reading or 2 readings in the same meeting.
Yeah, and they'll have to be a sponsor and all that, so they'll have to address that. The mayor goes through that process. I don't know who he talks to, but he's been made aware that that's been a request. Yeah.
Thank you.
Paul Klaus. Shauna Houghton.
Shauna Houghton, 113 Lakeland Drive, Smithville, Missouri. As some of you in this room know, this podium is not a stranger to me. I am up here quite a few times representing Smithville Lake Festival. So I will go into that. I am the vice president of Smithville Lake Festival. I'm the chair of the car show, the parade, the carnival, as well as co-chair for sponsor. I'm also on the board for Smithville Parks, I'm on the Smithville Parks and Rec Committee. So if you ever see me, I am sitting right there where Alderman Wilson is sitting on those meetings. I'm also on the board for Kids Rock in Smithville as well. And I have coached soccer. I have been a Girl Scout leader. I have been a booster president. And then I was on the first class with Doug on the community, what is it called? Community service?
No, the Citizens
Citizens Academy.
Academy,
yes.
yeah.
So to those that may not know my face, I'm very invested in this community. I love our community. I have been sitting in these chairs behind us and have heard the city ask, what can we do to make our city better? And some of them have brought up is that we need places that provide great opportunities for our community have working here in our local area. I can honestly say, yes, we have smaller representations here, but we don't have anything large of over 200 that I'm aware of that has came since I've been here for over 20 years. So I am in here to ask you to support bringing this new central power station come in here. I don't know, I have been to their location in Platte City. If you drive by there, it is immaculate. I have been on the location as well. It was just for a random car show as well as the fireworks, and they do give back to their community. Everyone was appraised of that. So I just ask you guys to take that in consideration that they are giving everything the city has asked. They're also residents, and I've spoke with multiple parts of their businesses. They're very personable to speak with. Anyone has questions, and I want to apologize to you guys for the false information that was provided out there. A couple of us in this room were trying to give back false or correct the fault, put the accurate information out there. So I'm sorry you guys had to face that. You are doing what we have asked. So I just want to hope you guys take that in consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, last call.
Let's go.
All right, we will close the public hearing. And we will move to the conceptual plan approval for Project Rocket Ship. Do I have
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Jack, any final word?
Yeah, let me go through a couple of things. We do these every now and then, these conceptual plans. And what they often do, to answer Mr. Wood's question about the property to the south of here and the access points with one business, one lot, et cetera. That property was our very first conceptual plan project south of them. So that's how that access occurred. That would be the same for this project. The conceptual plan would allow the lack of a constructed public frontage with this conceptual plan. In order for that to occur, they need to provide alternative access and ingress egress, which they're doing at their cost, their maintenance, all that. The only public access points that we will be impacted based upon the way it's laid out would be the road coming, their private road coming north off of 136th Street, which is used to be Mr. Wood's driveway. And now MoDOT took it in the late 90s and made a road out of it, and city took it over in 2015. But that would be their north-south ingress egress. And then there would be a potential future one in the middle, which is in one of Patricia provided you with the elevation visuals from the road, the one that shows going up, that's the middle one. All of those are incorporated in the TIS that the gentleman has already discussed. A couple of things that conceptual plans do that we need to keep in mind is with the buildings being submitted in the back here, unfortunately, given their size, the scale won't work very well. Even if this was an 11 by 17, it wouldn't work very well because the buildings are so long. I don't even remember. I know the square footage is 689,000 on the manufacturing building and 504 on the other building. But the site plan aspects of this from our code requirements would allow them to construct this building if you approve based upon their submittals, which includes the colors that you've heard me talk on all the other ones with the defined top, the middle and the bottom. We've got all that. trying to avoid the scale issues that occur on giant buildings, and they've done that with the striping, the garage doors that you see. They're big garage doors, but they're not overbearing on this building because of the way they're laid out and sited. So the coloring's addressed. I want to highlight that they have signs showing on the buildings. There is no sign permit application, pre-approval with this. They'd have to go through that same process, that they would have to do anywhere else. So the signs wouldn't be a part of it. The landscaping, and I will defer to Ms. Dotson on that one here shortly. And if she can read the scenario. Yeah. And I will give the applicant the following information. Deb doesn't like maple trees close to roads.
Mm-mm.
No.
Or sidewalks.
Or sidewalks.
Yeah. And it appears as though you have a maple trees on here. And in any event, I don't know how she's going to want to address that, but I wanted to throw that out up front. That she's very horticulturally leaning and wants to address those issues. And how you want to address that, Deb, I'll leave up to you. But those are the issues addressed in this conceptual plan, the documentary part. Secondarily, the conceptual plan also, and Patricia's mentioned it 3 times now, and I'm glad she mentioned it because I would have forgotten it. And that is the community scale manufacturing designation is part of this process because it requires it to be approved by you in the overlay district regulations. If you recall, we had the check mark as permitted automatically or approved. And this is a scenario where you would have to approve it, which is the community scale manufacturing aspect of this. As it relates to some of the other issues, I want to highlight the stormwater dry detention basin is rather large. It is intended to be a dry basin, which makes it safer in the long term because it doesn't have water. It's not holding it all the time. And secondarily, we had discussions initially of getting a north-south road through here if possible, but our Public Works Director, Matt Bond, in discussion with their engineers, told me to stop. He doesn't want it because the building expansion pads are on, if you look at this page in your packet, you'll see all the dark lines on the far left of the page. That's all grading. The closer the lines are, the steeper the grade. And he had determined based upon, he's an engineer, so he's able to determine that it would likely require a retaining wall to hold up that road that would be and in this scenario would be a public retaining wall. And he said, given our recent experience with private retaining walls and how they have impacted our public streets, he doesn't want to be in that business. So he has specifically said, we don't want the north-south street there, period. I can't disagree with him. He's the engineer, and there are plenty of other opportunities within the overlay district, which goes, as Mr. Woods and I discussed a couple weeks ago, it goes all the way back there and goes all the way up to Barton Heights up north, that subdivision up there. So there's a lot more acreage left in this for this, but it, as my staff report indicates, it meets those standards that we're looking for. Because there's so much that are engineering unknowns, they're aware that they have to, by our codes, they have to build the water lines that will supply the fire supply system. The buildings will all be sprinkled. So they have to do that. And one of the other concerns that was mentioned earlier, I don't remember at which hearing, but about the water tower and then not being able to be full. A couple of aspects of it. Number one, it couldn't be full because we couldn't use the water in it fast enough and it would go bad. So they put in, and Alderman Wilson may recall, we put in a stir in that tank to help it. And with more use, means more water in the tank, so it'll get fuller. When there's more water being used, that tank goes fuller. So that will happen. That, the other aspect of that, 15 foot of water in there, additional would add 30 PSI to everyone that uses that water. Because you get 2 foot of PSI for every foot of elevation in a water tower or any stored water. So that helps. We haven't done all of the evaluations of every hydrant in the area, et cetera. But they're aware of what their obligations are associated with that. They will be putting in a new water line on the west side of the road somewhere. I don't remember their utility plan exactly, but it'll be a 12-inch line that will completely loop around the future development area. And it will also allow them to have that. They will have a lot of private fire lines that go back. I don't know if they're looped or not, but that'll go on. We also discussed briefly, but don't know what the data will show when we do all the pressure and flow and all those tests that engineers do. When that happens, if they need to add a storage tank with a pump to increase to meet that minimum requirement, they're aware that may be a requirement. We just don't know. But our engineers at HDR feel comfortable that our water tower location is sufficient, that this will be no issue. And lastly, they provided in their project slideshow, sorry, couldn't think of what they called those, several perspectives. I asked them to do it specifically because the biggest concern I had when they came to me in March was these are 35-foot concrete tilt-up panel buildings, 35 feet tall building sitting down there with nothing around it is it's gonna seem really, really high. So I wanted to make sure that they provided you with a visual, here's what it's gonna look like. The buildings are 35 feet tall, but they're on the flat part, right where the hill breaks. And eventually you're gonna have the other buildings much closer. And, depending on what that conceptual plan is, they may just be 15-foot tall buildings, but they may be 2-story and go up to 25 or 30 foot. So the ability to see most of those buildings goes away. That, as I indicated, was my biggest concern. And the buffering around it with all the trees, as you can see, they've left the vast majority of the trees on the south, the west, and the north. They pulled out the trees that were in the area that they needed to put their buildings. So that protection, which is also in the comprehensive plan to address, have all been addressed with this conceptual plan. So from staff's perspective and the information I just provided you, that's why we made the recommendation we did here.
So, is this the same as in Platte City, the height?
Yes, for a particular reason, there are, equipment has to be moved inside properly, so yeah.
And get the picture in my mind, 'cause
Yeah.
I drive by those quite a bit, so.
Yeah.
One thing to note, we did not have anything to do with the building of those facilities in Platte City. We happened to move into them, so we had no say in what those looked like conceptually. So we're excited to have a say in how these are built. So we want to take the community into it.
And Jack, Commissioner Dotson, if you want the maple trees replaced, I know we work with Jack to do that.
Yeah.
Silver maple trees, no, I don't like them anywhere where a human being can be. I don't like them near property. They are magnificent trees, but they can tear up your sidewalk, they can tear up your parking lot, they can break in windstorms, property damage, hit you in the head. No.
Yeah.
Just.
We have no condition that we have to work with Jack to identify different.
Okay.
Yeah, and to clarify that, Ms. Dotson, you had indicated early before the meeting started about, came to me about the trees and I said, we're gonna have to come up with a better method than you picking
We
through it.
do, we actually
Um,
really need to do that.
And my recommendation would be some kind of a condition that you talk about that they are non-invasive conserva, you mentioned two things.
Yeah.
So that. and-
Non-invasive species, and I would work with an arborist and speak to Missouri Department of Conservation about what they recommend to do a lot of your landscaping. Because,
Deb, you want to just go ahead and make the motion while you're saying this?
yeah, let's
Yes.
just kill off the
Yeah.
maple trees there.
Yeah. Yeah. So no maple trees and work with the staff and conservation.
Silver maple trees, there's a
Silver.
difference now.
Okay,
There's a difference.
yeah.
So is that a
There we go.
motion? That's our
Gotcha.
that's a motion?
Yes, no. I make a motion to remove the silver maples.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded.
Okay, so now we're voting on an amended.
The amendment to the silver maples.
Yes.
Terry.
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
5-0.
So moving forward, the discussion will be the motion as amended with no silver maples on the landscape plan.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question on the amended.
All right.
All right, Rob,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Deb,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
5-0.
This will be an additional ordinance going to the board next week.
I believe we still need a vote on the preliminary plat itself.
No, I think they voted on
No,
that.
we already did that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they went through it pretty quick. I will draft the ordinances. It'll likely be one ordinance with all three things in it. I hope, but if not, I'll do the old way. We have a new attorney that likes to see things with all of it combined, so I'll try to do that tomorrow morning. It'll be on the agenda next Tuesday. And we will address the first, second reading concept with the elected officials as the citizens brought up there.
Thank you for your time tonight. I know both Paige and Robin look forward to bringing the manufacturing and warehouse business to Smithville.
Next item will be the public hearing for the fence code revision. This time, this public hearing is open.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I've got one document I've provided you with some pictures and the draft language for that. That would address the double frontage scenario. That's the only, from a public hearing standpoint, I don't know if Mr. Ballard's here. I was gonna say, I see his dad's here, but whether you all are aware, you were the ones that recommended
Yeah.
yes.
And this is
And-
gonna fix that issue, right?
Well, that's what I want you to be aware of. My job is to make sure you have all the information.
Yes.
So the public hearing, I've given you that document, then when you go to discussion, I can discuss it better.
But this is gonna fix the issue that Mr. Ballard brought for us last time.
Yes, I think so. I just want you to be aware of I had to do a comprehensive review of all the lots and stuff to make sure I wasn't gonna draft something that was gonna make us idiots in the future and have to come back and change it to fix something else. I didn't want to break something, fixes.
Right.
So. Okay,
Yeah, he worked for KCPD, so he was working much.
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
So Mr. Klaus, if you would like to speak, you can. If not, then
I'll do it now. I need to talk.
Yeah, I'll talk to
Okay.
Mr. Klaus after.
All right. We will close public hearing and we will go on to the fence code revision. Is there a motion? So moved.
Second.
We need any discussion on this?
If I could, I'd like to clarify a couple of points.
Okay.
I had to get outside my comfort zone on drafting this because it literally can only apply on very few lots in town, and they have to be parallel street double frontages. It won't work on a corner. I've shown you examples of if we followed the concept of what we had talked about at the last meeting. If you look in the upper left-hand picture, I've got a blue line and a red line. Our ordinance currently would require to have a 6 foot or greater. We can go up to 8 foot now. Side obscuring fence, it would be the red one. And then in order to adjust it, it only works on double frontage because if you look at all the corner lots that I've got shown here, that's what those fences could look like. And those don't work very well. So I took the liberty, and now I can pull out the double frontage parallel street language if that's what you want. But if I do, that's what happens to the opportunities in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, where they can go way out all the way to that front corner. I drafted it for a double frontage with parallel, and parallel is a relative term. We don't have any streets in this town that are parallel. But they're this way. So you have one lot between two streets, no corner lots associated. And our code says a front yard decorative fence. So for example, in this property right now, it could be built just like the neighbor to the east of them. It could be built 1 foot away from the sidewalk there, but it would have to be 4 foot tall, side obscuring, and it would also have to have the metal decorative stuff that we talked about. If they want the 6 foot or higher side obscuring, then our code requires it ordinarily to come back to the build line 30 feet. And in particular, in the draft I submitted you, not the draft, the report, I highlighted 2 points in yellow on that. In those, they work together to reach the conclusion of the first part. This will have to be another provision in there related to double frontage lots where the frontages are parallel. They can have non-decorative fences. So it has to be located in, I've got a bunch of conditions to make it work. And in review of the GIS map, there are about 15 double frontage lots, 13 of which are within 100 yards of this one. It's all right there between Meadow and, just south of them a bit. And then there's one way up north. This is literally the only lot in town that I can find that this could potentially happen to. So this big definition would only apply to one lot, this one. That's the only way I could make it work.
And that'll solve the problem, right?
Yeah. It would allow him to build the fence like he was talking about, hook to their corner and then get it back to the Summers build line on the west.
I do have a question. Why did we go to all the trouble to rewrite this code instead of grabbing a one-time variance?
Because a variance cannot be based upon something that the applicant created. He wouldn't be able to use his property otherwise.
Okay.
And this one, he certainly can. He can build a 4 foot fence instead of a 6 foot or an 8 foot. So the second item in the variance standards, this would fail.
All right. We good?
All the questions.
So,
John?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson? Aye. Rob?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
5-0.
This one will be on next week's board.
all right. Next is the big issue here.
I moved to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
My grandchild. Good morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, my bad.